Hello guys, this is Enemy Stand User here. Welcome to my review for JJK chapter 195 and part 5 of Sakurajima Colony. Last chapter we left off on a super high note with Kamo's determination and two new characters' wild emergence into the fight. So now we have a crazy group battle going on, and today we get more context on these new players, and Gege has an interesting way of introducing them. They are very interesting players and have powers that could challenge and even benefit our sorcerers in this colony. But today let's look at the awesome chapter and the pure passion that is sumo and katana. This chapter is definitely a fun one as we see our new culling game player Daido Hagane excited to get his hands on a katana blade. However, in this modern era there is no swords to be found, as Daido is very much confused because the katana is like the very soul of a Japanese man, or rather you could think of it as a sign of masculinity, as back in the day most men carried them around. So Daido is in a state of confusion and anger, as in this new era he frantically goes around Sakurajima early November 2nd to find a sword, as he goes around looking everywhere. And when he does find a katana, it's actually just a child's toy from Demon Slayer. It's a Demon Slayer blade from Kimetsu no Yaiba, and it's a funny reference that Gege put in, but you can really just tell how passionate Daido is about swords, and later we'll see just how special he is because he is powerful. Next we get to see the new player Miyo Rokujushi also debut November 2nd, and his emergence sparks a crazy interest in sumo as he challenges literally everyone and everything in the area to a sumo match. Children, students, girls, the elderly, and even a dog. But there's just no one who wants to sumo with him, and Miyo is very passionate about it. He's an absolute crackhead about sumo and wholeheartedly reminds me of Takaba with his utter foolish behavior. But in a random scene, when he hears a television broadcast about sumo, he just casually bursts into a person's house like a madman and got info from this old lady about a sumo match in Tokyo. And this is a very crazy scene. But as soon as he knows where his destination is, he gets his glasses, he gets a knapsack, and proceeds to head in the wrong direction, going to his right down south instead of left toward north toward Tokyo. So maybe it's like a timeline error on his part, because I think they are from different eras with Daido and Miyo. He has no bearings in this modern era, as he literally is going the farthest south you can get in Japan right now. Now all of our characters converge as we start where we left off in the Sakurajima colony. In the heat of this moment, with all these players converging, Naoya just could not care less about these developments as he proceeds to try and strike Kamo. But Maki comes back in for the save in the fight, and it hasn't even been 3 minutes yet, but she felt the need to come back into the battle, and clearly she still has not fully recovered from her injuries, and Kamo probably wanted at that moment to retreat seeing Maki's condition, but they were interrupted by Daido's presence. And there was something particular about Daido's tenacity and his power that made them realize something. Their presence is like a new variable in the battle, and Maki just instinctively knew to put her trust in Katana Man's words. But as Maki tossed him Mai's blade, when he holds the sword, everyone gets shook out of their mind. Daido is an incarnation of a nameless, unmatched swordsman. He is a special case of a player that fights with swordsmanship and not cursed energy. So in a way it seems like he's just like Maki. Actually, even more so, it seems like he's more in line with Toji, as we'll see later. But his sheer presence was overwhelming. The pressure coming off of his prowess with blades is something that is purely unmatched. And Daido praises the craftsmanship and the absolute lethality of Mai's blade as he pierces the air with the sword and makes even Naoya stumble a bit. This is a very unusual weapon. It has no crossguard, there's no inscription of the maker, but it's an amazing blade to Daido. However, he notices that this is a cursed weapon. It's a bewitched blade, and questions Maki about it, asking if this blade chooses its wielder. So there's maybe some rejection or some weirdness going on with the blade. But Daido actually questions the weapon itself, like he's talking to it like he's Zora or something talking to Enma. It's very weird, but he gets irritated at what it did just now against Naoya, because at the moment, Naoya is actually invisible to Daido. He swung at nothing in his eyes, but then Naoya attacks again, and then it finally clicks to Daido, and he picks up that it's probably a cursed spirit likely attacking him, asking Maki about it, and he cannot see curses, but makes an argument that if he can see everything else around it, then it's essentially the same as seeing it, which is a very wild line. But what's even more wild is that when he swings and slices Naoya again, the sheer cut is like an equinox slash slicing clean through Naoya's body. And Daido is in the zone right now. The real fight can begin. And there are still just things Maki has not unlocked as far as her power and Mai's blade and use of her blade. Because this old man just did some never before seen stuff right here. And even Maki is perplexed. When she swings the sword, this doesn't occur. This doesn't happen. And she thinks back on his words about what is she not seeing. She even thinks back to Toji and is trying to figure out the difference between her and Toji. If I remember correctly, Toji can use all 5 of his senses to quote unquote see curses, and has some resistance against curses thanks to his heavenly restricted body. A lot of people like to say that he actually sees the curses, but in a way he does see them, but he's using all of his senses. So it never really said that he actually sees them, because humans don't normally see spirits, especially without cursed energy. And Gege mentioned in the fan book, Maki is constantly trying to reach Toji's level, so she needs to figure out what she does and does not need to cast aside. She needs to sort that out. I won't lie, it does look like Maki can see curses and Jujutsu. That's how it seems. I don't know if she's holding on to something or why she can. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but there's very likely a level even deeper than sight to allow zero cursed energy users to reach new levels. It seems like our boy Daido, the Swords Master, is just like Maki and Toji and reach that level of awareness like Toji. But the chapter concludes with Miyo starting a simple domain sumo match and challenging Maki. This was a great chapter. I think Maki is actually going to learn quite a bit about herself from these two players, especially from Daido. I imagine Daido would teach Maki some pretty crazy stuff. But what's interesting about Miyo is that he specifically is doing a simple domain, which is a domain countermeasure. It counters a domain's sure hit effect defensively. But Tengen used an example earlier of a sumo domain for ancient style barriers, non-lethal domains that force targets to obey a curse technique's rules. I do not think this is a proper domain expansion right now with Miyo. As the name suggests, is a simple domain, but Miyo could still have a curse technique that employs on his simple domain, which is nuts. That's very unique, and we know there are different types of simple domain with Hollow Wicker Basket and New Shadow Style, so it has different effects and uses, and we've only seen Kokichi Muda use a simple domain with his curse technique, and that even allowed him to damage Mahito and use his simple domain in a versatile way. So this is definitely an interesting ability, and Miyo has a very, very unique power. I believe Maki can also do some sort of sumo style combat with the Shiryu Niigata, so this encounter is kind of perfect for her because Miyo might be on some crazy stuff, physically going on a strength match with Maki. That is truly going to be crazy. And also, I cannot get over the blaring fact that his design looks exactly like a Kappa demon. The resemblance is uncanny. but the next chapter is about to be nuts. It's about to be crazy. I know a lot of people have like a serious skepticism thing when considering Maki and Toji, what their ceiling is, what their limits are. It's either like a downplay or an upscaling thing with them, but the Toji stocks are on high right now. Just from one single panel of him, fans are going crazy. And this was undead Toji at that, so that was super cool to see. And I like that we do get hints at Maki's potential growth, but now that the fight in Sakurajima, it looks like it's taking it up a notch. It looks like everyone more or less will try and defeat Naoya. Even if their interests don't align, Naoya is just too much of a threat, so things are going to escalate quickly. Comment what you brothers think about the chapter. This was definitely a very, very good one for Maki and her potential, so I trust Gege will kind of let her reach new levels and make her look better in the fight, because Cursed Naoya has been looking way too clean as of late against them, and the tide's gotta turn eventually. But this has been Enemy Stand User, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.